Hey guys, it's Wilson, and welcome to my channel, where we talk about finance, macroeconomics, and real estate as an asset class. We learn how to swim with the financial current rather than against it, and we learn how to master money. And if you like any of those things, or if you like me, don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe so you'll be notified of new coming videos. So last week we learned about credit and why it's important, and we learned about the short-term debt cycle and how the central bank has the ability to control interest rates, which creates inflation and deflation, or an expansion or recession. They can control how the economy works in a short-term debt cycle. This week, we learn about the long-term debt cycle, which spans out 75 to 100 years. Despite people being more indebted, lenders freely extend credit and lend. Why? Because people are focused on the recent past. Incomes are up, stock market's at an all-time high, and assets are skyrocketing. It pays to buy goods, services, and financial assets with borrowed money. This is when a bubble's formed. Even though debt has been rising, income has been rising as well to balance and offset this. This ratio of debt to income is called the debt burden ratio. As long as incomes continue to rise, it makes debt burdens manageable. At the same time, assets have been increasing in value. When the debt burden is manageable, people borrow money to buy financial assets, which sends asset prices soaring. People feel wealthy. Even with the accumulation of debt, you have increased income and increased asset prices that keeps borrowers creditworthy. But this can't continue forever, and it happens over decades. Debt burdens slowly increase, and they create larger and larger debt repayments. At some point, debt repayments grow faster than incomes, which forces people to cut back on spending. And remember, since one person's spending is another person's income, incomes go down, which makes people less creditworthy, which causes less borrowing, which decreases spending. Debt repayments continue to rise, which makes spending drop even more. This cycle is the opposite of the expansion, and it turns vicious, and it starts feeding on itself. When debt burdens become too big, you reach the long-term debt cycle peak. And at that point, the economy starts deleveraging. Social tensions rise, and this whole thing starts feeding on itself. As income decreases, debt repayments continue to rise. Borrowers get squeezed because they're no longer creditworthy. Credit dries up, and borrowers cannot borrow enough to repay their debts. Scrambling to fill this hole, borrowers are forced to sell their assets. The rush to sell assets floods the market, and at the same time, spending is declining. This is when the stock market crashes, real estate prices tank, and banks get into trouble. As asset prices drops, the value of the collateral the borrower used is dropping, and it makes the borrower even less creditworthy. People feel poor, so there's less spending, less income, less wealth, and less borrowing. It feels similar to a recession, but the only difference is that central banks cannot lower any more interest rates. They're already at zero. In a recession, central banks could lower interest rates to stimulate the economy. In a deleveraging, interest rates are already at zero. And we'll learn about deleveraging next week. Don't forget to hit the like, bell, or subscribe. Or if you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below. See you next week.